Welcome in episode 176, What's Right with Nick Wright, our first true NFL reaction pod. Since we last talked, the Chiefs lost, and amazingly, I don't even know if that's in the show. This is too much news to get to. I am in New York, Damoza is in LA. Let's first get to what missed before we even, there's Damoza's beautiful face. Before we hear from him, let's tell you what missed from today's show. The Raiders, for possibly the first time in Damoza's life, are in sole possession of first place in the AFC West. Coach Prime's Buffaloes moved to 2-0 in what was maybe a more impressive win than the win over TCU. And my girl, Olivia Rodrigo, drops a brand new album, might have a little feud with Taylor Swift. I'm here for all of it. I've been reading up on this alleged feud. Now she's denying it, but I think there might be something there. However, it is a Monday in September, or a Tuesday, I should say, in September, which means we don't have time for any of that. Instead, we must get to the football and the devastating news out of New Jersey last night. Damoza, take us there.
So obviously Aaron Rodgers got injured last night against the Bills. Folks are believing that it's a ruptured Achilles. What is your reaction? What are your thoughts?
Well, my immediate reaction is you're obviously devastated for Aaron. The human side of you says it is on the board that was the last football game of his career. I know
Right.
people don't want to talk about that or think about that right now, but coming back from an Achilles injury is a brutal rehab for anyone. For a guy who's about to turn 40, would my money be on that Aaron Rodgers, that was the final play of his career? No, I don't think it's the likeliest outcome. Can you dismiss it as a possibility? Of course not. But so after, your heart goes out to Aaron, you obviously think these poor Jet fans. And I know Jet fans don't want to hear from me, and they're mad at me because I didn't believe in the team. And by the way, as maybe salt in the wound, the defense looked as advertised. The running game looked even better than even the most optimistic Jet fans could have hoped for. You got the win, which everyone's going to be throwing this term around today, and they're correct. It is the definition of a Pyrrhic victory. You win the battle, but you might have lost the war. And it is 24 years ago today that Vinny Testaverde blew his Achilles, coming off what was at the time the best Jets season since Namath, the 98 team that went to the AFC title game, and then in week 1, your quarterback pops his Achilles, and there is an element of, is this franchise cursed? And you hate it, but it's just the reality. I shouldn't say a curse is the reality. That's what fans are feeling. And so I do empathize with them. And I empathize with Aaron. Now, I will also say this, and maybe people don't want to hear this, but my job's to give my honest opinion. This is my honest opinion. While maybe a popped Achilles was not, in fact, it wasn't foreseeable, even though, if you remember, Rodgers' first practice with the Jets, it ended early because of a calf injury in the leg that now has the popped Achilles. I think I froze, Damoza, so maybe you should take over if you can.
Yeah, so it sounds like for his future, you think that you don't think it's you think it's not super likely that he retires, but he will still end up playing if he can maybe get surgery and get through this.
Well, yeah, I think he'll try to come back next year. But what I also think is that, to go back to what I was saying, sorry, we had a slight tech issue there, is Rodgers had a calf injury in training camp. It's now the same leg where it looks like he popped his Achilles. Again, we don't have the official confirmation, but that's what everyone is assuming has happened here. And if you remember, like when Kevin Durant popped his Achilles, it started with a calf injury, it led to this. But the other thing is, watching that game and watching the 4 snaps Rodgers played, the Jets failure to address their offensive line, which was why I was sounding the alarms all offseason, was instantly an issue. Instantly he was under duress. And I like Dwayne Brown a lot. And Dwayne Brown, I'm sure, feels sick that he missed a cut block and Rodgers got hurt. But you have a 38-year-old left tackle blocking for a 39-year-old quarterback in a division that has teams with fearsome pass rushes, where you play the Cowboys in week 2. Like, I just do not think this was going to end well. Now, it didn't have to end tragically. And so I feel sick for Rodgers. And for the Jets, I don't even know what you do for... We'll talk about what you do this year in a moment. I know you want to ask me that, Damoza. But planning for next year, if Rodgers wants to come back, now he will be a 40, soon-to-be 41-year-old coming off an Achilles injury. It doesn't get any worse than this. And the Achilles injury is a bit of a freak injury. Your soon-to-be 40-year-old quarterback behind a makeshift offensive line getting hurt is not a freak occurrence. And it is, and even on the play that Rodgers got hurt on, it's a cut block, supposed to be boom, boom, out. I think it was Garrett Wilson didn't come open, so he was looking for someone, and it's just terribly unfortunate. And you feel sick for everybody involved, but it should be noted, like, 40-something-year-old quarterbacks get hurt when they're not named Tom Brady. Peyton Manning got hurt his second to last year and then suffered a major injury his final year. Drew Brees got hurt each of his final 2 years. Brett Favre with the Jets tore his bicep and then played through it. Old quarterbacks playing tackle football get injured. And it's not the time, obviously, for any I told you so's or anything. It's not what I'm trying to do. But folks that were skeptical about the Jets were skeptical. The biggest reason was, is the offensive line going to hold up? And 4 plays into the season, Rodgers suffers a season-ending injury. It's brutal. Just brutal. All right, what are your follow-ups, Damoza?
Do you still think they can make the playoffs given how the defense and the running game looked? And also, do you think it's... Wait,
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? We'll wait for that one. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. Go ahead. Ask me both,
also,
and I'll get to it.
Do you think that the Jets should call on Brady like you alluded to in your tweet?
I think they got to call somebody. They got it. But here's the thing on the Brady part of it, and then I'll get to... Go ahead, Damoza.
Zach, I was first of all, I think it's got to suck mindset wise for these guys to still have won that game with Rodgers being out, because I feel like it's going to make them think even more in a certain direction. But glad that they got the win. And Zach Wilson didn't look as bad as he looked last year, but he's still obviously not Aaron Rodgers. And
he still looked. He had a few Zach Wilson moments. The old roll right, throw left. You can't win with Zach Wilson, flatly. You just can't.
Fair.
So I brought up Brady because he's available. But here's the thing about Brady. And this, to me, kind of proves the initial point I was making. Let's say Brady sold his share of the Raiders and was allowed to come back. If the Jets called Tom Brady, he would say no. And you know why? Because Brady would not play behind that offensive line.
Yeah, I was about to say, you were saying old man blocking for old man quarterback. So, like, it should be another old man
Brady
quarterback.
would not, correct. But everyone would be like, oh, Brady can't play behind that O-line. Why they thought it would be a good idea for Rodgers to play behind that O-line is crazy, is just makes no sense to me. Now, Mike Tannenbaum mentioned Matt Stafford. If the Rams decide to turn in the tank direction, that's an interesting one. Making that work salary cap-wise and then giving up more draft capital for another aging quarterback. And that really is complicated if Rodgers plans to come back next year. So I don't know if that's realistic. The free agent quarterbacks are Matt Ryan. We saw how that went in Indy. Carson Wentz. We've seen how that's gone everywhere. There are two names that if I were running the Jets, I would call about. The first one is Jameis. I would take a shot on Jameis. He's the backup in New Orleans. He's better than Zach Wilson, obviously. And you know he can make the throws. You hope he can avoid the turnovers. But Zach Wilson can't avoid the turnovers, and he can't even make the throws. And then the next one, and folks are going to kill me for it, but if you remember the Jets last year, there was a half of one game that they brought in Chris Streveler, who was just running every play, and they actually looked half decent for like a half, and then it went to hell. I would maybe call the Cowboys about Trey Lance and say, you guys gave up a 4th-round pick for him. We'll give you a 4th and a 7th. That way you guys just made an all-time smart trade. You had a guy for 2 weeks, and you picked up a 7th-round pick just for being the conduit. We are going to get him in the building and see if we can run with our defense and our running game by week 8, an RPO-based attack, get him out there, and and then even if Rodgers wants to come back next year, that's fine. But you don't have good options. And again, people are like, Nick, when are you going to get over the Trey Lance thing? I am not saying he's good. I'm saying we have no idea. He's the same draft as Zach. Zach Wilson went 2 in that draft. Trey Lance went 3. We know Zach Wilson's terrible. We don't know about Trey Lance. And with that running game, maybe that would make more sense. And to me, that might be worth a flyer. But the short version of this, Damoza, is they have no good options. They have no good options. Now to your question.
Trey Lance definitely be the best one.
And for Trey, it would be the best because he'd actually get to play. Now, right. I didn't think the Jets were going to make the playoffs even with a healthy Rodgers. Now, what I will say is that's a big win they got, and we'll see how much disarray the Bills are in. I'll also say in the entire AFC, who looked awesome? The whole AFC, who looked awesome this weekend? The Dolphins and the Prince. That's it. The AFC North, which I thought was going to be the worst division, the best division in football, Deshaun still can't throw. Lamar kind of still can't throw. Burrow threw for 80 yards, and the Steelers got dog-walked. The AFC South was worse than advertised, and it was advertised as the worst division in football. The Chargers lost. The Chiefs lost. Go ahead.
The Jags looked good all the way through. I could have sworn at one point it seemed like Indy was going to win.
Okay, if you listen, this is where I don't know if that was your own thing or the producers trying to set you up to fail.
And they were hanging
if you
in there.
If you listen closely, I said who looked great this weekend: the Dolphins and the Prince. I did not say the Jags looked great. I said the Prince looked great. So the Dolphins looked awesome, and Trevor Lawrence looked awesome. You're right. The Jags had a few mishaps. They still ended up winning by 10 and covering. Thank you. So I don't think you can make the playoffs with Zach Wilson as your quarterback. I do think the AFC, everyone said all offseason. I was one of them. AFC better than NFC, by far. There were 4, Damoza, cross-conference matchups this weekend. NFC versus AFC. The NFC went 4-0. As always, we know nothing. Except for on this next topic, where I have been the only person who has been right for 2 years, and I am going to take my god-dogged victory lap right now. Go ahead, ask the question.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Are the Bills? You saw the game last night. Josh Allen obviously threw 3 picks, the fumble snap. Are the Bills screwed?
Well, I don't know if the Bills are screwed, but I want to talk about Josh Allen because I have been called so many names. Forget by random people on Twitter, by colleagues. I'm trolling. I'm just trying to hot take for ratings. And by the way, it's Albert Breer tweeted 20 minutes ago, quote, lots of people firing off takes on Josh Allen last night as if it's still 2019. He didn't play well, but the idea he's suddenly going to cease who he's been the last 3 years is downright moronic. Here's the problem, Albie, with everyone. It is not that I, and now there's a whole group of people with me, are pretending it's 2019. It's that the entirety of the media has pretended it's still 2020. 2020, Josh Allen was undeniably awesome. His team was awesome. They made the AFC title game. In 2021, he was so not awesome that in a year where even Mac Jones made the Pro Bowl as an alternate, he didn't. Now, he was unbelievable in 2 playoff games, one of which his team lost, and because of that, everyone memory hold the entire year where he had a 92 passer rating, which was good, I think, for 17th in football. Since that playoff game against the Chiefs, Josh Allen has played 19 games. He has 39 picks and fumbles in those 19 games. 39. I tweeted about it last night. After I tweeted about it, he fumbled twice on the same play. I said before the year, Trevor Lawrence was unquestionably one of the 4 best quarterbacks in football. Right now, it's hot takes. Right now, this moment, $100 cash. If you can say with a straight face, 4 quarterbacks better than him. You can't. Certain things, and everyone's like, oh, how are you going to say Trevor over Josh? Right now, this moment, who you want? Right now, this moment, who you want? For this year, this week, this decade. You know the worst play Josh Allen made last night? It was not the first pick in the end zone. It was not the second pick in the end zone. It was not the third pick on the sideline. It wasn't the fumble in the fourth quarter. The worst play Josh Allen made was on 3rd down at the end of the first half when he was 8 yards from the first down marker with 30 seconds left, and he tried to hurdle 2 defenders and got power bombed like Vader in the WWE in the mid-90s. Like, what are you doing? What's the plan there? I'm going to hurdle 2 defenders for who? For what? So I can be 7 yards short of a first down and then kick a field goal? Everyone is just now catching up that Josh Allen's ceiling is as high as any quarterback in the league not named Patrick Mahomes. But the floor is bad. And this morning, what has been conventional wisdom from me for 2 years is now everyone's going to be like, hey, when are we going to start talking about Josh Allen's turnovers? Catch up. It's been there. And anyone today who after, if you're listening to this on the way to work, whatever it is, maybe you're like Damoza or myself actually, and you enjoy after a hard day, maybe getting a game of Madden in, grab the box and look who the cover athlete is. And ask yourself why. Why is Josh Allen on the cover of Madden? Jalen Hurts isn't. Joe Burrow isn't. The Prince isn't. Mahomes isn't, but he's been it twice, so that's fine. Why? Because the media anointed him. Because and I said it then, and I will say it again, Josh Allen, the best win of his career was a loss. The 13-second game against the Chiefs, he got more credit for losing that game than Patrick Mahomes got for winning that game. Despite the fact that as great as Allen was in that game, who had more passing yards? Oh, Mahomes by 50. Oh, but Josh Allen's a great runner. Yeah, he is. Who had more rushing yards? Mahomes. Who had more rushing touchdowns? Mahomes. Who was up against the tougher defense? Mahomes.
Is this the
And
origin story of this whole Josh Allen anti thing?
No,
like
so here's the thing. No, it's the origin story is, as is often the case, I'm right and the rest of the media is late. That's the origin story. The origins, listen, I have 3 types of takes. Undeniably correct in the moment, undeniably correct eventually, and cartoonishly wrong. That's it. Those are the 3. Those are the only takes that you get from me. Typically, you get the first 2. Occasionally, you get, how do I get this in the front of the camera? Occasionally, you get a never in doubt Chiefs 20-0 tattoo. Yeah. Steph will never, Steph will never make the finals again. Like, there's no gray area. And so sometimes it's Trevor Lawrence. What? And I'm just curious. When the Jags were 2-7, and I was still calling Trevor Lawrence the prince that was promised, saying he's top 5 quarterback, that take now falls into what category? Undeniably right, eventually. Undeniably right, eventually. Caleb Williams, right now, being the 3rd most valuable quarterback in the world. Guess what it's going to fall into? Undeniably correct, eventually. Josh Allen being wildly overrated when the discussion 1 year ago today, Google it. You know what? Go to Google News, or just go to regular Google and click on the Tools tab, like where you can pick the time. Pick September of 2022 and type this in. Josh Allen better than Mahomes. And see how many articles 1 year ago today, after that Rams Monday night or Thursday night football victory, were saying he's QB1. He's the best quarterback in the world. So
I've got a question. Is this going to be the last time you pick the Bills on the show?
Well, I mean, they screwed me. I mean, I picked him to win. I had him in the picks. And, I mean, Aaron Rodgers goes out 4 snaps in, and they can't even win that game. I mean, give me a break, Buffalo. I mean, what a travesty.
It's embarrassing, dude.
But
that's crazy.
I'm just right. Now, by the way, I still think the Bills make the playoffs. People now are going to go too far in the other direction. What you're going to get today is now this take. Who would you rather have? Josh Allen or Brock Purdy? Well, one guy takes care of the ball and doesn't turn over. People will give that take. People will say that the Bills are going to miss the playoffs. I won't give either of those takes. I won't.
I'll give that
because I don't think. Which one?
Brock Purdy. I want Brock Purdy.
Okay.
I think Brock Purdy is actually good. I can tell you just think it's the system. But
you also think Daniel Jones is actually good. How'd that work out for you? Let's go to the next topic. We're going to talk about it right here.
Hey, man, your pick to win the NFC is looking great, obviously. My guy Daniel Jones is running for his life.
Yep.
The 49ers looked unstoppable. Your lock of the week, Pittsburgh, didn't look unstoppable versus my guy Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's my guy, by the way. You jinxed the 49ers last year, and are you worried you'll do the same with Dallas this year?
No, listen, I don't believe in jinxes, even though Damoza thinks he jinxed Odell, and that I jinxed
that was 8 hours. That wasn't even days, weeks. Those were hours.
Yeah, that is true. He did play. I mean, technically he played. If you watched the Ravens game, you couldn't really tell Odell played, but he did play. I'm not worried about jinxing the Cowboys. The Cowboys looked exactly like I thought they'd look. Now, 40-0, I didn't expect, obviously. But they have the best defense in football. The best defense in football. The Niners looked unbelievable. And I've got to give them a ton of credit. They looked great in a tough environment against what I thought was going to be a good team in Pittsburgh. And I'm not writing off the Steelers yet. But the Niners looked absolutely incredible.
I don't know if they have the best defense, by the way. Go ahead. Sorry.
Who do you think has the best defense?
I think it'd be the team that we saw last night.
The Jets?
That kid that stepped in after their quarterback was injured. You know, I mean, they won the game.
That's a good take. I mean, and by the way, we get that game next week. Cowboys Jets. And
right.
Anybody that's holding out hope, Zach Wilson's going to be able to keep this ship afloat. Wait till Micah Parsons throws him through the center of the earth. I mean, that's not going to be great. But yeah, the Cowboys Jets next week might be the two best defenses. That's a fair take. The Niners defense obviously looked phenomenal.
Right.
And it looks like that's a collision course. I know the Eagles won. They didn't look great. They won, but that secondary can got, man. You let Mac Jones throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. That means you'd let a full-grown adult quarterback throw for like 450 and 5 touchdowns. That's a concern.
Full-grown adult quarterback. What the?
And so that's a real concern. And so Cowboys do look really good. Dak didn't play great, but he didn't need to. Damoza, scale of 1 being how Cowboys fans feel today as far as concerned, not concerned at all. 10 being total outright panic. Your level of concern about your Giants and Daniel Jones after that Week 1 performance.
Oh, I mean, it's probably a rebuilding year at this point. I'm not really.
Oh, you're done with them.
Yeah, I mean, I was never really picking them to go far. I thought they might have been able to sneak into the playoffs, but it is still, like you said, one of the top defenses in the league right now. I think we do need a couple more weeks of evaluation. And then the weather, I feel like also plays a part.
That's the right take, and it snowballed on them. You get a punt, you get a field goal blocked, return for a touchdown, then a pick 6 touchdown, or a fumble 6 touchdown. The whole thing just snowballed on them. I'm not ready to say they're totally cooked, but it did not look good. All right, next.
All right, so Chris Jones signed an extension, and you were already in danger of jinxing the Chiefs. Kansas City plays the Prince this week on Thursday, I believe.
Yep.
No,
not
so
on
who
Thursday.
will you choose?
Thursday is Eagles-Vikings. This is Sunday at 1 o'clock. But go ahead, sorry.
Okay. All right, so who will you choose to jinx this week? Chiefs or the Prince?
All right, I don't believe in jinxes.
So tell us who you think's going to win, and then the other team. Yeah. The Chiefs are going to win?
The Chiefs are going to win.
Sweet. Prince going to look good this weekend.
I want to say this I'm glad Chris is back. Chris's agents really, really did him wrong here, and it's upsetting to me. Chris Jones had on the table a 2-year, fully guaranteed $54.5 million extension. That was on the table. His agents...
are you dropping a scoop right now? I haven't seen this anywhere.
I said it on TV last week, but nobody gives me credit for breaking news. So if you weren't watching the segment, I mean, I also broke the news that Travis Kelce was out 30 minutes before everyone else. I had it, and then all of a sudden, Rappaport and everyone's like, sources say, agreed, but you guys are just late. I don't break a lot of stories, but let me tell you something, America. If it's on the Kansas City Chiefs, you can trust me. So, and by the way, after I explained the details on the Chris Jones story, what? Go ahead. You want to make fun of me? It is not.
I don't think you're in exactly a position to say that right now. I think you got to wait until give it a few more weeks, maybe halfway into the season, see if they can go.
There is a difference between a prediction and breaking news. I was not reporting the Chiefs were going 20-0, you smart ass. That was a prediction. So the details that, by the way, Florio corroborated it. Everyone acknowledges this, that Chris was offered 2 years, fully guaranteed, $54.5 million extension. He wanted 2 years fully guaranteed, $64 million extension. So a $9.5 million delta there, right? The Chiefs, if he would have signed the extension, he wouldn't have gotten fined. What he got fined in training camp, wouldn't miss the game check. So he would have, over the next 3 years, had fully guaranteed to him $74 million. 19.5 this year, plus the 2 years tacked on. The deal he got does not guarantee him a raise this year. Does not guarantee him they can't franchise tag him. His salary stays the same. Now, he can make up the $2 million he lost in fines by playing time incentives that he should make up. In order, though, to make up the $1 million game check he lost, he has to either be a first-team All-Pro or have double-digit sacks. And in order to make the full $25 million he can now make, he needs to be first-team All-Pro, have 17 sacks, and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. If all of those things happen, once you incorporate the money lost and all of that, he maxes out at $22 million this year with no guaranteed money moving forward, and the Chiefs can franchise tag him. I think his agents gave him terrible advice. And Chris Jones, one of the greatest players in the history of my favorite team. They do not win the Super Bowl against the 49ers without Chris Jones's play in the fourth quarter. And they do not beat the Bengals last year without Chris Jones's plays on the final drive. Or throughout the game, but certainly the final drive. He deserves the money. But I think his agents were more worried about them getting a headline that they got their guy the most money ever than they were about doing the actual math on whether or not they're costing him money. But here's what I'll say about the Chiefs. Saw how the Bengals looked. Saw how the Bills looked. The Broncos lost again. The Chargers lost in Charger fashion. The Ravens didn't look great. It sucks, but Aaron Rodgers done for the year. Aside from the Dolphins, and we'll see him against the Jags this week, this weekend couldn't have gone better for the Chiefs' purposes of winning the AFC once again. Okay, we now have breaking news. Yeah. It's official, as we thought. Rodgers done for the year. Complete tear of his left Achilles, out for the season. We did the start of the show as if that were breaking news, as if we knew that because we kind of did. But now it is official. All right, let's get to the last couple topics here, Damoza, because this has been a very long A-block.
All right, man. Bet your Chiefs would have loved to have Tyreek Hill Thursday night, man. He went crazy on Sunday with 200-plus yards. He's won rings. He's transformed Tua, and he's just simply changed the game. A lot of people are referring to him as the best offensive weapon in football right now, or the best weapon in football. Is Tyreek Hill officially one of the top 5 receivers of all time?
No. We can't go that far yet. No. We can't go that far yet. It's obviously Jerry at number 1. I believe Randy at number 2. And then there is an argument for the next few spots of T.O., Chris Carter, my old colleague and pal, Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson. All those guys are in that discussion, plus some old-timers I'm probably leaving out. Of his era, it's he and Davante Adams. Davante's the only receiver in this era with more yards and more touchdowns than Tyreek Hill. And I think Tyreek is more dangerous than Davante. And so, listen, Tyreek is continuing to rewrite what's possible, and he's a first-ballot Hall of Famer and a legend, but top 5 all-time is too far for my purposes. What's your follow-up, Damoza?
After last night, do you think the Dolphins are the class of the AFC East?
Well, I picked them to win the division before last night. So some of us, could see this train coming down the tracks. I think if Damoza finds me more irritating cross-country than when he's just sitting here. I think the arrogance really drips through the screen in a way that turns him off.
It's about the same. It's about the same.
It's about the same.
No.
Oh, that's great. Who do you right now? I'm asking you right now, this moment. Who do you like in the AFC East? So the Bills, Jets, Patriots, Dolphins. I picked before the year. I picked Dolphins 1, Bills 2, Patriots 3, Jets 4.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really pick anybody in there besides the Dolphins. I don't have too much certainty with the Jets. I think the defense is going to hold up all year, but I don't know how much that's going to be able to do. Yeah. So I mean, the Dolphins do look the best on paper right now, and especially given the games over the weekend.
Right, and that defense, while it got shredded throughout the game, they got big sacks at the end, which they needed. We're going to skip the Burrow topic because we've gone so long here. Take a very quick break, come back, and play a brand new game. Plus, Damoza's favorite, Tennis Corner. We do all that next. What's right? By the McDonald's app. How many times have you been in that situation where you've had a really long day or you're really hungry, but the last thing you want to do is cook a meal or leave your house to go pick something up? I'll be honest with you, I've been in that situation hundreds of times, and my saving grace has been the McDelivery option in the McDonald's app. We're talking getting McDonald's delivered right to your door. I love their breakfast menu, but my all-time favorite item is still the Big Mac. And now every time you order McDelivery in the McDonald's app, it earns you points towards free food. And let's be honest, who doesn't like free food? That means there's always a reason to order in the McDonald's app. Download the McDonald's app today. At participating McDonald's, delivery prices may be higher than at restaurants. Delivery and other fees may apply. Copyright 2023 McDonald's. All right, welcome back in episode 176. What's right with Nick Wright? It is, Tuesday after week 1 of the NFL, but that does not mean we are going to avoid the finals of the U.S. Open, one of my favorite events of the year. I can't yet see Damoza, but I am sure he is just licking his chops to discuss this. Now I can see him. Damoza, time for Tennis Corner. Let's go.
Let's get to it, man. Tennis corner. All right, Coco Gauff became the youngest American to win the U.S. Open since Serena in 1999. Novak
Yep.
Djokovic won his 24th Grand Slam, most ever, by the way. A little congested, sorry.
Yep. That's all right. Don't worry about it.
2 questions. Is Gauff the new face of women's tennis? And is Djokovic now on your Mount Rushmore of GOATs? Greatest of
Gauff
all
is the new-
tennis. Okay, go ahead.
No, I think so. Hold on.
It's regular
So
GOAT, but
listen, it's just regular GOAT. He's certainly on the tennis Mount Rushmore. The question is he on the all sports Mount Rushmore? Let me do Gauff first. So, Gauff is the new face of women's tennis. There's no question about it. She's delightful. Her story is awesome. She is, I think, better than anyone expected at this point. And because Naomi Osaka has kind of gone in a different direction, the door is wide open, and Gauff has slammed her way through it. It's wonderful, and it is the lasting legacy of Venus and Serena. It just without question is young black girls in America looking at tennis as a top option, whether it's Madison Keys or Coco or Naomi Osaka. It is what Tiger did for golf. Venus and Serena, I think even more so, did for tennis. It's amazing. It's one of the coolest stories ever, and Coco is spectacular and easy to root for and a badass. Listen, I once again lost money on the men's side of the bracket. I bet Alcaraz. I went to see Alcaraz in the semifinal against Medvedev. I was there. Those were expensive tickets. How about this, Damoza? Carm, you know Carm. You love Carm.
Mm-hmm.
Carm, he comes in every year for the U.S. Open, and we go to the beginning, the first few days of it together. He comes in for like 4 days. He goes all day, every day. I go to a couple days. But tickets get more and more and more expensive. I can never go to the men's final because it's idiotically on the same Sunday of week 1 of the NFL every year. I don't know what they gotta just move the U.S. Open back 1 week so the finals are the weekend before the NFL starts. Set that aside. Carm texted me on Thursday afternoon and said, "You should get semifinal tickets. See Djokovic in the afternoon, Medvedev, Alcaraz at night. I'll fly in for it." And I think he was joking. But I typically buy tickets to all sporting events, but I have a few ways if it's like a super expensive ticket that I can, call in a bit of a favor and be like, "Hey, can I get a couple tickets to this?" And so I called in that favor, and within 30 minutes, I had a couple tickets to the semifinal. I texted Carm a picture of him and said, "We're in there." He couldn't believe it. He flew in, Southwest flight Friday morning, Southwest flight back to Chicago Saturday morning, and Carm considers himself like a amateur professional tennis player. By the way, if anyone's watching this in Chicago, you can watch him on CHGO, listen to him on WGN. He used to do radio with me in Kansas City. He's one of the best guys ever. And when we were walking in, he's turned to me and he goes, "Nicky, men's semifinal. I can't believe we're here." He was so happy. He was just so over the moon. He was like, it's a totally different crowd than's here earlier in the week. So I'm like, oh yeah. The thing with the U.S. Open is diehard tennis fans are there early in the week, early in the tournament, and as the tournament moves on, it becomes more
It's the hype
corporate
beast.
less. Yeah. I mean, for the men's final, Lil Wayne was there. Everyone was at the men's final, but I watched Medvedev beat Alcaraz. Medvedev was unbelievable. Played a great match. And then Djokovic, of course. Listen, if I'm ranking my favorite male tennis players ever, Nadal's 1, Federer's 2. I don't even know where Djokovic is as far as my favorites, but he's undeniably amazing. And the fact that he has played 72 I might be off by 1 or 2 on this. I think he has entered 72 majors, and he's made the finals 36 times. Half of the majors he's entered in the hardest era in the history of tennis, he has made the final, is one of the most remarkable things in the history of the sport. And since 2021, here is what he has done in the majors. Australian Open, won it. 2021, won the Australian, won the French, won Wimbledon, lost in the finals of the US Open to Medvedev. 2022, didn't play in the Australian Open, made the quarterfinals of the French, won Wimbledon, didn't play in the US Open. 2023, won the Australian, won the French, lost in the finals to Alcaraz of Wimbledon, won the US Open. So in the last 3 years, Damoza, he has played in 10 of the 12 majors. He has won 7 of the 10 he's played in and lost in the finals in 2 of the other 10 and then lost in the quarters of the French. It is absolutely remarkable what he's done over the last 3 years, and he's now at 24 majors. It's undeniable what he is. I know you have a lot to say on this, but we're short on time, so we can move on if you want.
Yeah, that was more like a tennis room. That wasn't really the tennis corner. We did a whole little thing right there. It's supposed to be a corner.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. How does this new game work, smartass?
So we've got a new game. We got a new game called Fact or Overreact. Week 1 breeds a lot of overreactions, but there has to be some truth to it, huh? It's your job to decipher what is fact and what is an overreaction. So first off, we've got
do it.
Jordan Love. Seems like Aaron Rodgers left the deed to the Bears to Jordan Love because he now owns the Bears as well. Love looked amazing in his first week 1 start, and the Packers looked actually pretty good. Fact or overreact? Yep. Green Bay is better with Love than Rodgers.
Well, fact, if we're just saying the Green Bay this year will be better than Green Bay was last year. And that again, obviously take the Rodgers Achilles injury out of it. We're not talking about that. The Packers last year were a terrible vibes team. Rodgers was hurt, didn't play great, and it seemed like it was the end of the road there. On the other hand, you have Love, who's going to be just fine. They have a very good running game. They have a good defense. Now, I also think the Bears might just be in shambles. But
seems like their O-line holds up pretty well, too.
The Packers? Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And listen, I picked the Packers to win that division. Now, the Lions on Thursday Night Football against the Chiefs, defense looked better than I thought they would. So we'll see on that. But I think this year's Packers will be better than last year's Packers. Next.
All right, the rookie quarterbacks got off to a rough start. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Anthony Richardson all lost in their debuts and played poorly. Meanwhile, Jordan Love sat for 3 years and looked pretty good. Fact or overreact? Throwing rookie QBs into the fire doesn't work.
Well, depends on what you define as work. They're all going to struggle as rookies. But if you think you have a superstar, the Love thing was weird because you had Rodgers there. If you think you have a superstar, you've got to let him take his lumps early because the easiest time to win a championship in the NFL is if you have the star quarterback who's paid on the rookie scale. So having him sit, like you by the time he plays, like let's say Jordan Love ends up being awesome. Well, he's immediately going to be paid like he's awesome. So it's just in a tougher spot. I thought Richardson looked pretty damn good, all things considered. And he's the guy of these 3 quarterbacks I liked the most because of the upside. And I thought he was going to look the worst initially because he was the rawest.
I thought
polished.
He looked
right. I thought he looked pretty good. And you just got to let these guys take their lumps. What's your follow-up?
So how wild is it to throw your quarterback's first touchdown ball into the stands? How do we feel about that,
man? So who did it? I was watching the game. Was it
Hayden Hurst did it.
Hayden Hurst did it. No. You got it. You got it right. For Bryce Young's first touchdown pass. Now, I think they got it back from the fan, but that's a gaffe by him. That is just like a wild gaffe by him.
It's probably just too in the moment, you know? Probably wasn't thinking like that.
But you know it's a rookie, the number 1 pick. It's not like this was a random.
I think if a rookie did that to a rookie, it'd be a lot different than like. I feel like you know what's going on. You should have the mind to give the ball back.
Yeah, but I feel like a veteran Hayden Hurst knows this is a rookie quarterback. I don't know. It's a bad job by him, but I think they got the ball back. All right, next.
My guy. You aren't a Brock Purdy fan yet, but the guy has never lost. Never lost a start in the NFL except when he was injured in the NFC Championship. Fact or overreact, Purdy is a top 10 quarterback.
Stop it.
Okay.
Nobody acts. Here's the thing. All right, so hold up. Let's do it. Let's do the exercise for everyone going crazy. I'm going to name quarterbacks, Damoza, and you tell me if you think Purdy's better. Okay? You ready?
Okay.
Let's do it. Mahomes.
No.
Trevor.
No.
Tua.
No.
Jalen Hurts.
No.
Joe Burrow. Dak Prescott.
Arguably.
Wait, arguably on Joe Burrow? Stop it.
I'm not. Look at that dude. Legit. We keep going.
Dak Prescott.
Okay, fair, sure. He's not.
Josh Allen.
No, but you know what?
Matt, hold on. We're not done. Matt Stafford.
Yes. But
okay, all right, fine. I'll give you him. That's fine. Lamar Jackson.
No.
Justin Herbert.
No.
Jared Goff.
Yes. Give it. So what do the 49ers have to, what does Brock Purdy have to do with the 49ers to convince you that he's good? Do they have to be 3-0 and then we can revisit this? No. If they're 3-0 and Purdy's dealing, is he then a top 10 quarterback? What more does he have to do, man? The guy hasn't lost the game when his elbow wasn't dinged up. I don't know. What other stance do you expect me to have right now?
Wins are not a quarterback stat.
Gotcha.
They're team stats. I cannot believe that everyone, and I'm not necessarily talking about you here, but everyone that was like, Jimmy G, he's a winner. He's just special. Something to him. He gets replaced by the last pick of the draft. The team doesn't miss a beat. And instead of everyone acknowledging, oh, yeah, it's Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Kyle Shanahan's scheme, everyone's like, oh, this guy must be awesome too. Like they literally dropped in Mr. Irrelevant, didn't miss a beat, and everyone, instead of being like, oh, it's the system and the talent, a team that has led the league in yards after catch for 5 straight years, everyone's like, oh, they just found another gym. I just don't buy it. Go ahead.
You know what is a quarterback stat? Touchdowns to picks. I don't know what his are exactly right now. But if you combine this last game with last year in a whole, I'm pretty sure that ratio is pretty high. And I'm pretty sure it's a lot better than Jimmy G's was.
Damoza, it's 15-4, and his passer rating's 108. He also has great stats.
Much better than Jimmy G.
I understand all that. And if you add in, I'll even give you help here. If you add in the playoffs, he has 18 touchdowns and 4 picks and a 108 rating. He's been excellent.
Doesn't sound so irrelevant to me.
I don't believe that will sustain. So we'll see. We'll just see. Go ahead.
All right, Baker Mayfield's 2 touchdowns led the Bucks to a huge upset over the Vikings. Fact or overreact? Time to sell high on your Baker stock.
Oh, that's a huge overreact. Why would I sell? Do you know who they got coming this week? Chicago Bears. Oh, 2-0 coming right down the mountain for my guy Baker. Now, the next week they have the Eagles. So if we were going to sell, we maybe do it before the Eagles game, but we're certainly not doing it right now, not when they're about to get the home opener and get to 2-0. All right, next.
All right, many thought the Rams would be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, but they embarrassed the Seahawks even without Cooper Kupp. Factor overreact. The Rams are a wild card team.
That's a massive overreaction. The Seahawks, listen, I need to see more. I don't think they have enough talent. I think they have too many young players. But that was one of the most shocking results of the weekend. I will admit that. I'm high on the Seahawks and think the Rams are going to be terrible. And that wasn't a fluky win. Rams kicked their ass. I mean, they deserve credit for it. The Rams absolutely kicked their ass. All right. We got to take a quick break, come back, answer some of your chat questions before we leave. What's right? All right, welcome back in What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 176. Let's get to some of the listener questions. I realized actually now that I remember, Damoza usually reads these, but I've been going through them now. So because you haven't been here, so we'll get in a flow on this. I want to start with this. Zach Hatter says Nick's already 0 for 1 in locks of the week. He's in midseason form. I went 2 and 3 on the pick show. What is so devastating about that is I do this pick show on Thursday, and then Friday on TV I do 3 picks. So I pick my 3 favorite ones from this show, and instead of doing 5, I do 3. I went 2 and 3 on this show. Damoza, what do you think I went on TV?
0 and 3.
0 and 3. I picked the 3 losers. Now, what's also true, and we'll talk about this more on Thursday's gambling show, Damoza's teaser didn't win because of the one leg I told him not to place. That was the one leg I told you not to place. What?
And honestly, what overshadowed that was me saying that the Raiders were going to beat the Broncos. I didn't say that they were exactly. And what also helped with that is that I also admitted that when I placed the teaser, that was the one leg that I was worried about. I'm sorry if you guys followed me on that, but I think there was enough evidence in that teaser to, still trail me. Don't count me out. We got some more coming later. We're not counting you out.
We'll talk about it more on Thursday. And here's the other thing, man. Because I went 2 and 3, and my bets have vig. Your teasers, you're just, you getting plus money. I'm minus 1.3 units, and you're just minus 1 unit. So while we both lost money, you are actually ahead in the competition. The real OC says, why do you and other sports media always leave out Stafford when talking about top quarterbacks? You just leave him out and include players like Dak and Trevor Lawrence. Well, listen, Stafford, I think, for most people, was ahead of Dak until he suffered the elbow injury last year, and then people were very concerned about what he was going to look like this year. I mean, that's why. Trevor might be the second best quarterback in the entire league, guys. Stop comparing people to Trevor, please. And you can roll your eyes. Again, you're going to say confidently with your chest this morning, Joe Burrow's better than Trevor? Threw the ball 30 times, got 80 more yards than I did. I threw the ball 0 times. Go ahead.
By that logic, then Brock Purdy is better than Joe Burrow. But continue, my bad.
That is where pedigree and everything matters. Brock Purdy was the last player of the draft. Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 pick, and you would have traded 5 first-rounders for him. Pedigree matters. What
like
you did in
like
college matters.
I only listen to mainstream music. Hey, man, there's some underground stuff, man. There's some new things can be done that weren't done before. I know it's unexpected that this guy that went undrafted or last pick in the draft is actually a really good quarterback. It's hard to believe, but hey, man, watch game 4 or 5.
It might be the case.
I think your mindset's going to start switching up a little bit.
No, listen. It might be the case, and you're right. The next great musician might right now be playing in a dingy bar somewhere in Toledo. But I'll go ahead and say I think the person who's been selling out arenas for the last 5 years has higher upside. That's all. Also, the producers gassed Damoza up, telling him how great he did on the Purdy conversation. He's now shoehorning it into this Matt Stafford question. Next, Christian Lazo says, is there anything a 49ers quarterback can do to impress you? We always attribute success to Kyle's system. Who's won 0 Super Bowls? Guys! I was vindicated entirely on Jimmy Garoppolo. We'll see if I'm vindicated on Brock Purdy. Let's just wait and see. D8 said,
thank you, Christian, by the way. Sorry.
No problem. Is part of the problem with Rodgers' injuries on turf field? Should the NFL begin outlawing turf? That's going to be a big topic today. I don't think it helped. I don't know that it was the entire reason for the injury. Grass fields are better. Players hate the artificial turf. I don't think the NFL's outlawing it. I also don't know enough about the mechanics of injuries to give a hot take on that. Adrian says they can't afford cat food thanks to Nick's picks. Next week, Adrian, Cat's going to be eating fresh salmon. Just wait. You just wait till we give you these 3 picks this week. Joel Pinfield says, how long does Russell Wilson have left as the Broncos starter? Russell Wilson's not the reason they lost that game. Russell Wilson wasn't good, but he wasn't terrible. Sean Payton, surprise onside kick, 3 bad 4th down decisions, 10 penalties. Looked a whole like the Nat Hackett team. Tell you that much. All right, Damoza started slow today. Really picked up as the show went on, and you were outstanding. It was a great show. Really a great show.
I enjoyed myself today.
I'm glad that you are tying yourself to the Brock Purdy bandwagon as is Broussard,
I'm planting my flag.
Wilds. Plant that flag, man. What did I say? I got 3 types of takes. Undeniably correct immediately, undeniably correct eventually, and laughably incorrect. You think this is going to be a bucket 3. I'm very confident it's going to be bucket 2. I guess we'll find out together. Gambling show where Damoza and I try to actually win some bets Thursday. Talk to you then. What's right? Hey, it's Nick Wright. Thank you so much for watching. Please do us a favor. Click subscribe. It helps my ego, and Damoza's got a financial bonus writing on a number of YouTube subscribers, so help him out. And also, click the bell. I don't know what the bell does, but they tell me to tell you to click the bell. And if you're audio listeners, people that have commutes, drives, whatever it is, subscribe to the podcast as well, wherever you get the podcast. Same show, just in your ears instead of through your eyes. All that. Check it out. Appreciate y'all.